Hey friends, we're back again. Lesson 114. Pull out lesson 114 and we will get started. The first direction says, measure this line segment using centimeters. So we grab the centimeter side of our ruler and it looks like it's exactly 10 centimeters. And then down here, draw a 1 3/4 inch line segment. Oh, so we go to the inch side, 1 3/4 inches. Now remember, we've talked a few times. This is 1 whole inch, and then every inch is divided into 4 sections, fourths. And usually those lines will be a little bit longer than the tiniest lines there. So this is 1/4, 2/4 or 1/2, and 3/4. So we need a 1 3/4. There we go. Number 1. At 4 p.m., the temperature in Phoenix was 97 degrees. At midnight, the temperature was 23 degrees lower. What was the temperature at midnight? So we're comparing two, let's see here. We have the larger temperature, and then it says it was 23 degrees lower, but it doesn't tell us what the smaller temperature was, does it? So we know the larger temperature was 97, and we know it's larger partially because it's 97 degrees, and it would be very hot if it was 23 degrees higher. But it's 97, and then the smaller one is 23 degrees lower, so 23 is the difference. But we don't know what the temperature was at midnight. We don't know the smaller one. So this plus this equals this, right? Or this, take away this, is going to give us this. So we have 97 take away 23 in order to figure out this number. Now don't forget, you have a pencil in your hand and you're writing down everything that I write down. This one we can do without doing it on scratch paper. We can subtract the ones place. 7 take away 3 is 4. Then we can do the tens place. 9 take away 2, or 90 take away 20, is 7, or 70, right? So 74 degrees is our answer. And make sure when you do an applied problem or a word problem like this, make sure that it makes sense when you get done. So if it was almost 100 degrees during the day, it would make sense that it would cool off to 74 degrees at night, right? If I did this wrong, or if I did my calculations wrong, and it said something like 120 degrees at midnight when it had been 97 degrees during the day, I probably did something wrong, and I need to go back and check, okay? Now, don't forget, these are degrees, right? Degrees Fahrenheit is the way they had it marked. So that's the label that we need, degrees Fahrenheit. Number 2. How much change will you receive if you pay for each item with $1? So we can do it 2 ways. We can subtract $1, take away what we bought to see what the difference was, the change. Or we can do the count up method, where we do 24, count to the next 10, and then count our way to $1. So let's try the count up method first. So 24, and we need to figure out how to get from 24 to $1. And I'm just going to write 100 because we're talking about it like it's cents, right? So 24 cents to 100 cents. Because this is the same as $1, by the way. 24 to the next 10. The next 10 is 30. How big is that jump? 6, right? Now 30 to 100, how many tens is that? Let's count. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. 7 tens is what I counted there. And 7 tens is 70. So we jumped 70 plus 6. Your change would be 76 cents. If you do this, you must hand in your scratch paper. Okay, let's do it again. Actually, if you just do the simple subtraction where you do 100, take away 24, you also must hand in your scratch paper. So I know you know how to subtract. It's just a bunch of borrowing, so we're going to do the count up method with 79 again. We're going to go from 79 to 100. So 79, the next 10 up is very short jump. It's 80, right? And I only go 1 to get from 79 to 80. Now we're going to go 80 to 100. And if you need to picture it like 80, 90, 100, you can make jumps for every 10 too if you want to count it that way. So 80 to 100, 80, 90, 100, 2 tens, 20. So I jumped 21 cents is my change. Don't forget, hand in your scratch paper if you do that on paper. Fill in the missing dimensions of the rectangles. Oh, okay. So we need to figure out what goes in the box. I was trying to figure out what that little box was for a second. Now I understand. So what they're saying is this whole box has an area of 21 square inches. Now remember, the formula for area is length times width. And if you ever forget area and perimeter, they are on page 34 in your math journal. Area is length times width equals area. Okay? So 3 times something equals 21. Or we can count how many times 3 goes into 21. 3 times something equals 21. Well, 3 times 5 is 5, 10, 15. That's not enough, but it's not too far away. 3 times 6 is 6, 12, 18. Closer, much closer. Let's do 3 times 7 is 7, 14, 21. 3 times 7, and this is going to be 7 inches. We're going to mark it just like what they marked the 3, is 21. Let's do this one. Something times 8 equals 16, because length times width equals the area. Something times 8 equals 16. So how many groups of 8 go into 16? 8, 16, 2. And it's going to be 2 inches. Be very observant of whether you need labels on your numbers, because they're starting to do that a lot to you now. And it will be important. It will start getting marked down if we don't have our labels. Okay, multiplying, but we're going to use expanded form. We've been working on expanded form a little bit. Remember, we're just separating each of these place values, or each of these place values. So the expanded form, as many numbers as there are, and as many digits as there are in your number, that's how many different numbers you're adding up in your expanded form. So what we're doing is we're saying, what is this 7 worth? It's worth 7. What is this 4 worth? It's worth 40, because it's in the tens place. Okay, let's do the same over here, and then we'll go back and solve. 5 times, and we have to put these in parentheses, because otherwise we get a wrong answer if we don't. I'll explain that later. Okay, so in the hundreds place, we have a 9. So 9 in the hundreds place is equal to 900, plus a 1 in the tens place, so that's equal to 10, plus an 8 in the ones place, and that's equal to 8. As many digits as you have up here is how many things you should be adding down here. So let's go back. 3 times 40. Now don't forget, you've learned how to multiply the first number and add the 0. So you know how to do most of these in your head already. 3 times 4 is 12 with a 0 on the end from that one right there. Plus 3 times 7 is 21. Now if you want to, we could even add this in our head. We'll add it down here too. So first we add the ones place, and we're going to put it way over on the right. 1 plus 0 is 1. We put it in the ones place in our answer. Tens place is the 2 and the 2. 20 plus 20, or 2 plus 2. That's 4. And now the hundreds. There's not a hundreds place here. There is a hundreds place here. So we just have 1. Okay. Now, if you do it this way, I want you to check your answer either with a calculator or by doing this. And it is fine to check your answer with a calculator as long as you show me your work somewhere else. So if you get a totally different answer than 141, you need to go back and change your work, because I'm going to be checking that you have work somewhere that gives me the right answer. 0 plus 1 is 1, 2 plus 2 is 4, and 1. 141, 141, we're good. Now let's do this one. 5 times 9 is 45 with 2 zeros after it, plus 5 times 10 is 50, or 5 with 1 0 after it, and 5 times 8 is 40. Now, we'll practice doing this again, and then we'll do it on paper down here also. So add the ones place, 0 plus 0 plus 0. We have a 0 in the ones place. I'm going to put it down here because I don't know if I have enough room. Tens place is a 4, a 5, and a 0. 4 plus 5 plus 0 is 9. Now we're going to add the hundreds place. Does this have a hundreds place? Does this have a hundreds place? So then we just have a 5 in the hundreds place. This also does not have a thousands place. Does not have a thousands place, so we just have 4 in the thousands place. Okay, so let's do that on paper. 4,500 plus 50 plus 40, because it all needs to line up on this side, right? 0, 9, 5, and 4. 1, 2, 3, comma. 1, 2, 3, comma. So we got matching answers. That means we're good to keep going. Fill in the numbers on the number line. Put a point at +2 and label it D. That's right, we're going to be doing negatives and positives. Put a point at -3 and label it R. Put a point at -2 and label it E. And put a point at +1 and label it A. Now, if you remember the way we label these, or label our number line, we go like we normally would count on this side, and we go the way we would normally count this way also, except these have negatives in front of them. Okay, so let's practice. 0 is always on a number line. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could tell we were counting by ones because they had this here. Now we go 1, 2, 3, 4 this way too, but these are all negatives. Okay, going to the left is negative, going to the right is positive. Now let's label. +2 is right here. Label it D. -3 is right here. Label it R. -2 is right there. Label it E. And +1 is right there. Label it A. You see a word? They didn't even ask us about that. I wonder if they did that on purpose or not. R-E-A-D. All right, next. Show 1/4 on the clock. Now remember, 1/4, if you go to your clock vocabulary, it'll help you with the ones that we don't use as much around here. Clock vocabulary, page 10. They are still true, but everybody has different terms for these. So, 1/4 is when the minute hand is pointing to the 9, it means 1/4 or 1/4 until, or 1/4 before. 1/4 means all of these things. They all mean that it's 15 minutes to the hour. Okay, page 10. So 1/4 means 1/4 to 8 or 15 minutes to 8 o'clock. So the minute hand is going to go straight at the 9. And the hour hand is going to be almost to the 8. It's going to be shorter than the minute hand and is not quite going to be to the 8 yet. Be very particular about how you do this, because if I get it and it's hard to read, or it really doesn't look like it's pointed to the right spot, like the right hour, then I can't mark it correct. So be pretty particular about where these point. And then the digital time, well, the hour is still 7 o'clock. And the minute is, do you remember what it is when it's here? You have a clock page, if you can't remember, on page 9. Otherwise, you can go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. It also helps, you know it's o'clock up here. It helps if you memorize that the 3 is 15 after, the 6 is 30 after, and the 9 is 45 after. Memorize those 3 if you haven't gotten those memorized already. And then you don't have to count your way all the way around the clock. You can just start at 30 or 45 and count from there. Okay, find the answers, last 2. So 4,692 plus 428. Always double check you wrote it right before you start and that you're lined up on this side. 8 plus 2 is 10, carry the 1. And always check your sign to make sure you're doing the right one. 9 plus 2 is 11, and 1 more is 12. 2, carry the 1. 6 plus 4 is 10, and 1 more is 11, carry the 1. And 4 plus 1 is 5. So we go 1, 2, 3, comma. 5,120. 5,120. Last one, 268. Take away 75. 268, take away 75. Now, subtracting. Don't forget, if you see a bigger bottom, you gotta borrow. 8 take away 5 is 3. Now, there's 2 things you could do here. You could go, oh, bigger bottom, I gotta borrow. Or you could say bigger bottom, but if I forget about this part I'm already done with, I could maybe figure out 26 take away 7. And then I don't have to borrow. So you can do it either way. If you do 26 take away 7, you get 19. Now let's see if it happens the same way when we borrow. So bigger bottom, got to borrow from my neighbor, take 1, bring it back home. 16 take away 7 is 9. And 1 take away 0 is 1. So look, we got the 19 anyway, didn't we? Whichever way you're comfortable doing it right now is fine. If you get to the last step in a problem like this, and you can do this just as 26 take away 7, then you will still get the same answer. That is the whole thing. Now remember, if you do as much scratch work as I did on here, you need to take a picture of that and hand it in. And Zoom with me or email me if you have any questions on this or have any trouble reading, because you're getting a few problems that have a lot of words in them. Or if there's anything else you want to ask. Oops, I forgot to write down our answer here. 193. There we go. Have a good afternoon.